So in the class today, some of the things we're going to talk about. Now, I know everybody has done some searches today, and they've probably seen some of the various ways you can put date ranges when doing searches. I'm going to show you some different techniques that you can use when you look for properties according to date ranges and so forth. And also, I'm going to show you how to do some text searching. Now, I don't mean text with your phone, but rather text in the marketing comments section of the searches. There's some different techniques you can use there that you may not be aware of. And that's a great way to look for things that you don't normally find in some of those search attribute fields. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about mapping for properties using what's called a POI, or a point of interest. I'm going to show you how to do that. And along with the mapping, I'm also going to show you a way that you can set your default map to be set at a different or a specific location instead of just a random selection that you may not like. So we'll talk about that. One of the classes that we teach in Matrix talks a little bit about speed bars, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and how you can utilize that speed bar not only to do some different types of searches, but to also save those. So if you're doing a search for specific kinds of properties on a regular basis, there's a way to set up a speed bar shortcut. And so you can click on that or actually type in that speed bar name, and it'll go right into your searches and find exactly what you're looking for. So it's a quick, easy way to do that. We'll talk a little bit about my listings. Now in the my listings things, the thing that I really only want to point out in there is your hit counters. I just want to show you guys something in there real quick, but we'll get to that when we go through the class here today, so stay tuned for that information. And then I want to mention printing as well, because there's some different things that you need to be aware of when it comes to printing. Some of those are those print or ink saver type printings. We'll talk a little bit about those. And then we're going to go in and I'm going to show you some things about driving directions. Now, driving directions, believe it or not, you can pull up multiple properties and get driving directions from a specific point of interest, how to get there, etc. And you can also add stops along the way. So for example, if you wanted to add a Starbucks stop along the way, you could theoretically do that. So there's some things I'm going to show you about that, okay? So, and just as a reminder, again, this is a rather large class, and there's going to be another trainer that's going to be showing up here, I hope pretty quick, and they'll be able to answer questions as we go along throughout the class. At the end of class, I'm going to go ahead and hang around and help you guys with any kind of questions that we didn't address during the class today, and so forth. So actually, this class here, this is the first time this class has been taught. So we don't have a pre-recorded version in here yet, but we will eventually get that, and I'll show you where that's going to reside, okay? We're also going to talk a little bit about an auto direct email. Now, I know most of you have probably worked with auto direct emails, but did you know you can customize those in such a way that those auto emails will only send out updates on properties that you've selected? So there's some pretty cool little deals about that. And then I'm also just going to mention multiple browsing tabs, because you may not realize that sometimes you can actually open up multiple browsing tabs, or windows rather, on your browser with Matrix. And so if you have to look at some different things, I do it all the time. It's a great tool, and I'm going to show you quickly how to do that. So having said that, we're going to go ahead and jump into the class. Now, when I'm talking about date ranges, okay, I don't have a handout for you at this time, but I could send these to you later if you would like. That's not a problem. But here's some different formatting for the different types of date ranges that you can add in your searches, okay? So maybe take a screenshot of that if you want to, or you can email me later. My email address is dbullis, so it's first name, first initial D for Doug, Bullis, B-U-L-L-I-S, at NWMLS.com. And I'll send you copies of these slides in a PDF format so you can kind of see how this works. But these are some of the different types of date ranges that we're going to play with when we do some searches. And then here's some different types of text searching. So believe it or not, there's a whole bunch of different techniques you can use when you're looking for specific things when doing a search, okay? We're going to talk a little bit about map searching from a point of interest and creating those directional drives and so forth. And then here are some examples of a lot of different types of speed bar searches. So if you're looking for specific things in specific areas, you got all kinds of options for you to choose from, okay? So that's the slide presentation that I got for you right now. Yes, it is a black screen. I'm going to minimize my window so that you can see my matrix. I'm going to jump over here real quick to the Northwest MLS homepage just to remind you guys that under the support section here and under matrix, this recorded webinar will be uploaded under webinars right here in this list. It's not here yet. This is the first time we're doing it, and so forth. So looks like, well, it looks like I had Barb there for a second, but she must have taken off. So yeah, so I get a question there about an email with that stuff. You guys just send me the email. I'm going to put it right up here in the search bar real quick so you guys can see it if you want to write this down, okay? That's my email address right there. Take a look at that and write it down and so forth, okay? Let me make sure everybody's viewing my screen okay. Super duper duper. All right, so everybody has my email address if you guys want to send me some emails later on. All right, let's get started, and I'm going to show you some different techniques. So when you are searching for properties, and I'm just going to do a quick, simple, single family quick search, and we're going to just show you. Now, you've probably seen a lot of these different dates over here where you can put in specific things. By the way, just so you know, almost all of these attributes throughout here have a little question mark icon next to them. And anytime you see that icon, you can click on it to see exactly the formatting that you need to use. So for all of these dates, for example, here, you can go up here to this little question bar right here, this icon, click on this, and it should give you some information. Coincidentally, it didn't give you anything for the calendars here, not sure why, but it's there, okay? I'll email that to you when you guys get ready for that. Now, if you want to look, for example, let's say we're going to just look for active listings. And what we want to do is specify a specific date for active listings. So in other words, let's go down and pick a residential property. And I'm just going to go ahead and select, let's see, where should we go? Let's go to Snohomish up to Linwood just for fun. Let me see if I can find it here. Linwood right there. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to look for active listings on a specific day. I want to know what listings are active on this day. And so I'm going to put in a month, and I'm going to put in October 3rd of 2020. And down at the bottom down here, you're either going to get some matches or you're not. You need to make sure that there's information in there or whatever that keep an eye on your count on the fly is what I'm trying to tell you here. Because if you don't find anything, then you might need to modify that information. So let's just go, for example, and put in October 15th. And again, I don't find anything. So I'm going to make it December and still nothing. So, but that's how you put it in, okay? Good luck with that one, Doug, right? All right. So for before a specific date, let's say I want to put it in, let's put in October, or excuse me, let's put in October again, October 15th, 2020, but let's put a minus in at the end of that, right there after the 2020, I'm going to put a minus in there. And what it is telling me is that these are the active listings before this specific date. And there are two of them. And if I want to go in here and take a look to see what those are, I can see exactly the information in here that I need to find out. Let me do a 360 property view here so you can see what that is. But you can see the active date, it's still December 10th and so forth, okay? So going back to the criteria, that's how you can go and find different things according to dates. Now, maybe I want to do some other things. Maybe I want to look for solds. I can do that as well, okay? By default, sometimes you get this 0-180, and that's basically giving you a range of 0 to 180 days. Now, 0, just so you know, is today. Anytime you see a 0 in that date range, that specifies today. So I could go in here and put in a specific date range. Let's say we want to look at all the solds in this same area, this Linwood area, but we want to know how many properties have sold after a specific date. So I could go in here and say 12/15/2020 and put in a plus sign in there, and then it's going to show me all of the properties that have sold after that. So if I pull those up in here, I can look and see exactly when those properties sold. So there's January 12th, for example. If I go to the next property, another January 12th, and so forth. So that's another way that you can define that. So either before or after. And again, if I were to go over here and put a minus there, which tells me that I want to see all the properties that sold before December 15th, 2020, obviously I'm going to get a lot of hits down here because that's a lot of properties. The MLS system, by the way, keeps records pretty much back to the year 2000. So you can look for all kinds of different and specific date ranges. Another range, for example, if you're going to put something in, let's say I want to look and see how many properties sold in Linwood between July 24th of 1995 and July 24th of 2000. I could do a range there. And if you look down at the bottom here, it tells me exactly how many homes sold between that time period. So you can do all kinds of different ranges there. And I'm going to email you guys. If you send me an email request, I'll email you these different ranges because this little icon up here doesn't give us any information, okay? But I'll put that in there for you guys in an email so you guys can have that at your disposal. Now, another one might be, for example, if you're looking for sold properties, let's say a date range between 10 and 20 days ago. So I could put in here between 10 and 20 days, and I can see exactly how many properties sold between 10 and 20 days. I could probably even do that same thing up here and put in 10 and 20 days ago and get some kind of hit in there, and I do, okay? So let's see, what else have we got here? We've also got last 31 days. So again, if I want to know all of the solds in the last month or the last 31 days, I could go 0 to 31, and then that tells me, remember the 0 there is today and the last 31 days, and I've got 76 properties. I can also put in the last 31 days plus, if I want to do that, and if I put that in there, that information is basically going to give me the same information as putting in 0 to 31. I've also got 31 days prior. Now that again is going to give me a lot of hits because that's a range that is just, you know, covering a long period of time, basically 31 days ago and beyond till about the year 2000. But there's all kinds of fun little date ranges and things like that that you can play with, okay? Let me double check, and it looks like Barbie.
Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. I was having so much problem with my sound. I had to reboot my computer, and I finally just dialed in by phone. So I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So yeah, you guys, if you have any questions, just type them in the question box, and Barb's going to address the question panel, and she'll answer questions as we go along and stuff like that. So ask away, okay? All right, thanks. Good to know you're here, Barb. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to do another type of searching here, and this is a text searching. So a lot of times, you know, when you come in here and you're looking for properties and you're having trouble finding specific things, sometimes you really kind of have to think out of the box, okay? Now, there are all the different additional fields under the quick search, and one of those additional fields down here is called the marketing comments, this one down here. But I'm going to just jump over here to the actual general single family search, and it actually has it down here as an attribute right down here in this marketing box. Do you see that down there? Sometimes you really have to start looking this way because not every time all brokers are going to put in the necessary information on their listing input sheet and add it in here. So sometimes they'll put they mention something specific about a property, but they'll put it right in here. So let me kind of show you how this works, okay? The marketing box is the public remarks that everybody sees, and there's a lot of different things you can do. Here's some formatting. So watch my screen down here. So if I put an asterisk is a wild card, okay? and I'm going to put in the word pool. Let me make that a little smaller case, and an asterisk at the end, okay? What this is basically telling me is that this is going to search anything containing the word pool, and what's before or after is irrelevant, which means it includes everything. So, for example, if I went in here and I put in, like, let's say your client's looking for a log home. If I typed the word log down here, then this could pick up anything from the word blog, B-O-L-G, to log fireplace, to logging in the neighborhood, or log cabin, or log home, or anything, or something, anything prior to that. So that asterisk before and after includes everything. It's irrelevant what you put. It's just looking for the word log, okay? And if I actually went up here to my actives and just did an actual search for that, you're going to see that I found 84 matches. And so if I look at those matches to see what their remarks are, I'm going to jump over here to the 360 property again. I can look somewhere in this marketing comments or marketing remarks here, and somewhere in here I'm going to find the word log. Well, guess what? There it is right there, technology, okay? It's including everything before the word log because of the asterisk, and it's including everything after the word because of the asterisk, okay? So going down here again, let's just play around with this marketing comments again and play with some different things. Let's say we want to look for the word reduced to see if there's anything after there before that. So I'm going to put in the reduced word here. I'm just picking a word here, and I'm going to put an asterisk. Now again, basically what this is telling the search to do is it's telling them to look for the word reduced, but everything after, again, is irrelevant. So it has to start with that. So I found 5 matches. I'm going to search for those. And in my marketing remarks, look at that. The very first word is reduced. And I can guarantee you the next 5 properties I look at, the marketing remarks are going to be reduced. This might be a way to find properties with reduced prices, okay? Now, if I had put an asterisk before that, like right up here in the beginning, then it's going to put this word reduced somewhere in the marketing remarks, not necessarily at the beginning. Does that make sense? So reduced without the asterisk in the front is actually saying that the marketing remarks start with the word reduced, all right? I'm going to do another one. I'm going to put an asterisk in here, and I'm going to put the word deal, okay? Now, right now, I don't see any. But basically what that would be telling me is that in the marketing remarks, the last word in there is going to be deal. Now, I don't know if you would necessarily use that, but maybe I can't really think of a good example of when you might reduce that. Now, or might use that. But if you put in here, let's try another one. Let's put reduced again, okay, because we know that's in there. And then let's go ahead and put an asterisk in the word deal. Now this time, this would be an example of when you would actually start with the word reduced again, but the end ends with the word deal. And I'm going to go ahead and put a period in there or something. Maybe I'll just put an asterisk or something. I want to see if I can find anything, which I don't. But you kind of get the idea, okay? This is just telling you everything in between, before or after. It can be whatever it wants to be. It's irrelevant. It's specific words that you're looking for in here, okay? This will be helpful to you, I can guarantee it, because I've used this kind of thing before. Now, here's another one for you. We're going to deal with pools, okay? We're going to put in an asterisk and an exclamation point and an asterisk in the word pool. And then we're going to end it with another asterisk, okay? Now, what this is going to do here is it's going to search for anything not containing the word pool. So even if I have properties that I'm looking for, and maybe they have a pool, maybe they don't, this is going to actually not contain the word pool. If I go in here and put the word log in here, for example, remember before how we found some properties, but every one of these properties I'm finding right now does not have the word log in it. It's kind of funny how these all work. You just kind of have to really play around with them a little bit to see how it works, okay? Now remember that word reduced, and we had it at the beginning. This time we're going to take it out. We're actually going to put an exclamation point in the front of it, but we're actually going to then include it. And now normally before, if I took this asterisk, or the, excuse me, I'm getting confused here. If I took the exclamation point out and put the asterisk after like this, remember how we found 5 properties? But if I put the exclamation point in front of it, then that means that it's not going to start with the word reduced, okay? So where you put the asterisk and where you put the word and etc., if it's at the beginning, that's one thing. If it's at the end, okay, if I did it like this, something along those lines, it means that it would not have the word reduced at the end of the marketing comments. Couple more here and then we're going to move on, okay? Let me show you another one here. So let's say you want to look for words that contain certain things. So maybe let's put GRE question mark T and an exclamation point. And I get 1,506 matches. That's telling me right there that this is searching for anything containing a word with the letters G, R, E, and T in there, okay? In other words, the question mark can be any letter. So if you've got some unique words that you're looking for, or you're not sure how to spell something when you're doing a search, you can put in part of the words and then put in a question mark, and then you can find what you're looking for. So if I did a search for these properties right here, somewhere in my marketing remarks is probably going to be the word GRE something T, and it's probably the word great, obviously, and I'm looking in here and it's right there, okay? So that's how it finds those words. There's one last one I want to show you here, and if you want to include, for example, in your word search, you want to look for that pool, but you don't want the word pool table. So in other words, if I go POOL with the asterisk at the beginning and the end, then when I do a search for these properties, somewhere in here, I'm probably going to find something like either this one says pool, for example, right there. The next one might say something else along the lines of a pool table. That's also a pool. But if a broker for some reason put pool table in the remarks, but you were just looking for pool and not pool table, then you could actually include an exclamation point like this, and then put in, whoops, I didn't do that right, exclamation, and then an asterisk in the word pool table, and then another asterisk. And then that says, that little exclamation point right there tells you you don't want to include this information here. There we go. So now it says how many matches. There are no matches, but you kind of get the idea. So searching by text is a I guess it's kind of a funny little thing, but it also is kind of interesting to me because I have, for one, have used it before in the past to find properties that I couldn't otherwise find using all the different search attributes that are available. Okay. All right. So lots of different questions, I know. And Barb, please speak up if there are any questions you think we need to talk about. I'm going to go now to map searching. I'm going to just go down here again and go back to my single family quick search. Okay. Now, the one thing I want to show you to start with, let me just pull up, for example, I'm going to just go in here and select active. I'm not going to select anything else, maybe residential, okay? Active and residential, and I'm going to go to my map. And in my map, you see how it pops up here? When my map came up, this is what I saw, the whole state of Washington. I can make that any location I want. I can go down here, for example, and make it Walla Walla if I want to, and then I can set this as a default starting view, okay? And when I do that, every time I set this as my default, okay, then I go back here and do another single family search. When I get down there to my map, that's the view that I'm going to get, Walla Walla. It's going to zoom right in there automatically to Walla Walla. So you can customize your initial start view. And just go ahead and pull it up and make it what you want. I kind of like mine to be the entire state of Washington. Whoops, I'm bouncing all over the place here, aren't I like mine to be kind of right in there, and that's what I live with. So, okay, I'm going to go down here and do something here a little different, a little interesting. And I want to point out, right now I've got actives and residential, so I'm seeing all kinds of properties, aren't I? Okay. One of the things that a lot of brokers don't realize is that there is a jump to address on here. And this is also going to allow you, like if I clicked on my default location, for example, it takes me back to, well, I went back to Walla Walla. Maybe I didn't set last time. You should see a little message up at the top that says you set that as your default. But anyway, going back down here, there's a lot of different things over here that you might want to look at, okay? Now, if I'm going to set this by a point of interest, and this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down here. I'm just going to type up in here in this box. I'm going to type in McChord Air Force Base, McChord AFB, okay? And I'm going to hit my tab button to make sure it finds it. There's McChord Air Force Base. I'm going to zoom out, okay? I found McChord Air Force Base. Let's say I've got some, maybe some military personnel that want to buy a new home close enough to McChord Air Force Base. And this address can be any address, whether it's Boeing up in Everett or whether, you know, if that's even there. I don't even know if it's still there, but because I don't live in Everett. But anyway, so here is the location, right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple different things here. I'm actually going to go, okay, let's start with NWMLS drive time. Let's go up here and say, okay, McChord Air Force Base is where I want to be. At least this is where my client wants to be. And they want to drive there and arrive at 8 o'clock in the morning. You've probably seen this before, and they want to get there and they don't want to be any farther out than maybe, let's say 30 minutes, okay? And they want to get there in 30 minutes, drive at 8 a.m. on Monday. So you go and click add, and it draws this funny little map around here, okay? Those are all the properties that are within 30 minutes of McChord Air Force Base. But now, all of a sudden, I have a military person that says, you know what? I'm around jet noise all day long, and I just really don't want to listen to them flying over all night long. And so can you please eliminate some of those properties? I want to eliminate all the properties in that area that are within 2 miles of McChord Air Force Base. So I can go in here to McChord, take my little radius draw tool, and I can go ahead and start here and draw out 2 miles. Let's make it 3. Actually, we'll make it 5 miles, okay? Let's say 5 miles. And so at this point right here, then I can just exclude that shape, which I just drew, okay? Exclude, and now I'm pulling up all the properties that are outside of that 5 mile radius. Oh gosh, that thing keeps popping up. All the properties around McChord that are not within 5 miles of all that air traffic noise. And then of course I can go to my list and so forth, okay? So that's a cool little way to find locations of properties by using both either a point of interest and or using this NWMLS drive time to find those properties. Just draw that shape and exclude it, and then of course you don't have to include those properties in your search. Now there's also something else you can do. Let's go back to this drive time just for a second here. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to go in, I'm going to delete. Let me get out of here, just start over just for a second here. Let me clear this map right there, all right? And what I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to make it just a little bit smaller of a search because I want to show you something else here too. So McChord Air Force Base, and I want to drive there and get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, but this time I only want to be within, let's just say 10 minutes, okay? And click add. Well, that doesn't give me very many properties, does it? And maybe I'll make it McChord Air Force Base again. And let's see, drive here to 8 and make it 20 minutes. Let's see how many properties we get here. Go out a little bit further, okay? So I've got 2 locations here. Now, these properties are, of course, within 20 minutes. If I want to look at a driving directions for these particular properties, all I have to do, because if I draw a radius around the point of interest, and I have to do that right now, if I go to my results, let me show you something. I go to my results, and I'm going to go to my single line view. Right now, I don't have a column up here that says directions, okay? But if I go back to my map and I draw a radius from that point of interest, okay? Let me see if I can even draw a radius for Pete's sake. And let's see here. Okay, let's say that's the radius, and I'm just going to include those properties. Maybe not some of these over here. Let me see here. But when I go to my results after I draw my radius around there, I get this directional column up here at the top, and I can sort these properties according to distance. So 2 miles, 3 miles, etc. Those are all the properties and in the order of distance from my point of origin or my point of interest, my POI, okay? There's some other things you can do as well. If you go back here and do a regular search, and you may not realize this, but if you do an active search, for example, for properties, and I'm just going to pull up some properties here in Gig Harbor, I can find the properties that I'm looking for, and I can go and I can select all of them. And then down at the bottom, if you've never played with this directions thing down here, this actually lays out a map of the directions to all of these properties and in a specific order. Now, this order can be customized. In other words, you can move it around. So, for example, if you didn't want to start at number 1, then you wanted to start at number 15 and then maybe go to number 1, you could actually go down here to number 15 and drag this one all the way up to the top and put it in its location, okay? Where's it at here? I'm moving it up. Number 7, it's that one right there. I might have to do that. Let me pull it up. And now it's number 1, okay? So there's number 1 now. Number 15 just became number 1 and so forth. Now here's something else you can do that's kind of fun too. If you scroll down on the list here, and this is actually a fun little thing you can print out and show to your client to show them the properties and the routes and stuff like that. But you also have the ability down here to add a stop, okay? So for example, I don't know where the nearest Starbucks are in that location. So I'm gonna go over here to Gig Harbor, which is right down here. And I'm gonna pull up a Starbucks in that area, okay? See locations right there. Okay, there's a Starbucks right, where am I on my map here? I didn't even know where I'm at. Okay. So right up here, let's pretend like we want to go to this Starbucks right here. I can go down here and grab that address for this property and go right back here and add a start or a stop. I'm going to add a stop, and I'm going to make it a Starbucks at that address, and then I'm going to go find it, and then I'm going to add it. Notice it puts it down here on number 16. It's on the map. But I want to place this accordingly to my stop. So I'm going to just move it right up the screen here until I get to space number 3, which is right there. And now, oops, actually, let's do it this way. There we go. Now I've got stop number 1, stop number 2, and then we're going to go to a Starbucks according to our directional route tour today, Mr. or Mrs. Client. And then we're going to go on from there and go on to the next properties. So that's a pretty cool little deal that you can play around with your mapping tools. So you can do a lot of different things. Just another idea, just real quick, just to show you this. If you need to, you can also go in here to your map search and use some of these other tools. If you've never used any of these other tools at the top here, let me just show you real quick some of the different things. I'm going to go back to my Gig Harbor and do my search, okay? Specifically, what I want to look at on my map is just the ability to actually select different properties. So just because I have 15 properties up here, I may not want to go look at all of these. I just did a quick search to see what was there. And then I've decided, based on what my client's needs are, that I only want to focus on a few properties. So I'm just going to kind of zoom in here a little bit, and I'm going to just select some different properties. And so you'll see up here on the left, if I want to select all of these properties, I can select all of those, or I can just select one at a time. So I can click on this pin here, and then once I do, I can then start to select different properties. I want this property, I want that property, and I want this property, and those are the properties that I want to see today. Once I select them, then I can just go down to the bottom down here and narrow my list to just those 4 properties. Now, the other thing you can do if you want is you can actually select multiple. And the way to select multiple, if you're just doing a quick search, is you know that the particular owner wants to be close to water. So I'm just going to go up here to my check all in an area. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to draw a diagram or a box or whatever around specific locations and group those particular properties. Oops, I didn't get that one. Let me individually sync on there, and then there we go. Okay, so you can actually do that as well. There's some other things, and then of course you've got rulers and whatnot, and you can go ahead and define a bunch of fun things. So okay. All right, now again, if you want to set your map up to go to specific locations when you're in there, so if I wanted to set this to go down to Puyallup, I could go ahead and select this as my current location. My current location is Spokane right now, so that's not where I want it to be, but if I want it to be a default there, I could definitely do that, okay? All right, other things. Now let's go back to this search again. I just want to show you some things in here real quick. Actives, contingents, let's just do pendings and solds. And I want to pull up Gig Harbor, and I want to actually just go back 15 days on both of these. Or I could even go in here and put 15 plus if I wanted to, okay? That actually will give me everything back to 15 days. And if I can go ahead and put in my search here and pull up my properties, there's all kinds of different printing options and things that you can do in here. And I want to show you some of these just real quick. So I'm just going to select a couple of these properties, and then I'm going to go down to the bottom to my print section. And if you haven't been here yet, there's a lot of different print options for you. If I click here, for example, these are all the different options. But I want you to be aware, first of all, that there are also the options here to choose some different things in here. Now, if you have a header and footer set up in your settings, you can have it print the header and footer as well. You can also select this option so that it doesn't print any images, because color ink is expensive and it takes a lot of printing and stuff like that, okay? There's also, if I select all of these, let me show you something else in here that you might not be aware of. And this is new to Matrix X. So going back down here again, let's say I pull up my actives, contingents, pendings, and solds for Gig Harbor in the last 15 days, and I click on print. There's one in here called the Quick CMA, which is down here at the very bottom. And this actually isn't a quick CMA so much as it is a market summary. And let me just show you real quick what this looks like, because this is a nice thing that you can hand out to your clients if they're interested in selling their home. Let me click on it and let me show you what it looks like. And it's a market analysis summaries for single family. So it's got all the information up at the top here, the beds, baths, the halves, and so forth. And it also shows you all the characteristics and things below. But it groups everything by actives, and it even gives you days on market and so forth. And believe it or not, it actually listed everything here by days on market. And then it gives you the pendings and the solds and so forth, okay? So this is a great little page that you can print out. But all the printing options and things like that that you have, just remember that some of them allow you to do some of these things over here on the right, but some of them don't. So if I want to do a client summary, for example, notice they're not available here. But if I do some of these other ones, like for example, single line, client single line, I have the options to do some other things here as well. So lots of different print options for you. Now, there's some other things in here that you might want to play with, and it's this speed bar up here at the top, okay? This speed bar, this basically a search bar. There's all kinds of different things you can do here. There's the little question mark icon. You can click on that, and you can pull up and get some examples of different things. For example, you can search for MLS numbers, multiple MLS numbers if you have them at a time. So if your client tells you, hey, can you give me information about this house? Here's the MLS number. You don't have to do a long drawn out search to find that property. You can just put in the MLS number in the speed bar and find that property. Just like this one here, this 1715644. If I go 1715644 and just hit enter or search, that's the property, okay? So the speed bar gives you all kinds of different things to do. There's also searching by actives, contingents, and so forth. So if you just want to find active properties, you can put in A equals active, CT equals contingent, and so forth. Property types, of course, you can look for different types of properties. Resi A, so I could put a combination of things in like active, Resi, and then other information and do searches, and it's going to pull up 3,338 properties, not based on location, but you kind of get the idea, okay? So lots of different ways to search with that. There's list price if you want to put in range of properties. Bathrooms, you can search by areas, okay? So if I wanted to put in here, for example, I want all the actives, areas 01, actives, Resi, then it should pull up all the properties. And maybe I didn't do the format right. Maybe I need to move this over, active, Resi, and 01, and then do a search. And maybe those are them, actually. I guess that would be 15, wouldn't it? So there you go, okay? Okay, and you've also got searching by counties. If I want to put in Adams County or Walla Walla County to see how many properties are in Walla Walla right now. Let me put active, actives, Resi, Walla Walla, and do a search. That should put in. Now it says status active, status not complete. There's something wrong with the formatting there, and usually it'll tell you what the format is or that you have to fix. There's all kinds of different ways to do this. Another thing you can do after you've looked through this and played with it, if you want to find out agent information, I can put A Smith and it will pull up this properties on Smith Road. But if I put AG, it'll pull up all the agents with the last name of Smith. Let me show you one other thing, okay? Let's pretend like you want to, let's say you always go in here and do certain types of searches. Let's say I go in here and I want to look at actives and contingents for Kashmir, Washington, okay? Residential. And I've got 4 properties and I'm going to do a search. And so I've clicked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things in here. And I went ahead and I did my search. Once I find everything that I need in here, I can save this as a new speed bar shortcut. So this speed bar right up here at the top, it's not just a search bar, it's actually a speed bar. And this is kind of how it works. So I can go down here, save this as a short speed bar shortcut and call it Kashmir single family resident. It doesn't like spaces or characters, different things in here. It only likes to have words in here like this. But I can go ahead and save that. And then later on, if I come in here, all I have to do is put my / Kashmir SFR and it'll pull up the properties that I need. Now, this is not just going to show you these 4 every time. It's going to show you even if there's new properties and things like that. But the speed bar shortcut's pretty cool. Here's one I did for Gig Harbor, okay? I think I just did, let me see if I did Gig Harbor this way, okay? There are those 15 listings again. If I looked at the criteria there, you could see that I put in actives and contingents and residential and Gig Harbor, okay? So your speed bar shortcuts are a pretty cool little thing that you can look at and play around with as well. All right, now there's some other things in here I talked about already, but I want to talk about one last thing here that I think is pretty cool. Before I do, I just want to remind you, because I mentioned this in my PowerPoint slide, that in Matrix, and I've done this quite a bit, I pull up multiple browsers. Up at the top here, this tab, this Matrix tab, this is my browser tab, isn't it? Okay. I can right click anywhere in here and go open link in new tab and have 2 Matrix browser windows open. So I could go up here theoretically if I wanted to and say, here's my Kashmir properties, and I could open up another tab over here and I can say, here's my Gig Harbor properties, and I can do that. And I've got 2 different things going on here in 2 different browsers. Now, don't depend on this 100%, but I use it quite a bit when I'm looking at different things. For example, if I'm looking at a property here and I want to see some different information about it, maybe I want to just kind of set this one aside so I can open it up over here in a different browser window if I want to, just copy and paste or whatever. But I can open it up and look at different things, like let's say oh, I don't know, maybe the history. Maybe I want to look at the history on here. Okay, I can go ahead and do that. Open up different browser windows. So just know that that's available to you. All right, the last thing I'm going to show you, and then we're going to open it up for questions here. Okay, and this has to do with auto emails. Now, in our matrix class, we talk about auto emails. Okay, so let's pretend we have a client looking for properties, and he's looking in the old Gig Harbor area. And I don't live in Gig Harbor, by the way. I just pick it because it's at the first of the list. Okay, so let's say I do a search for properties in Gig Harbor, and I go ahead and set it up, and here's my search. And of course, I've added my contact in here, and I selected all of these, and then I went down here to the bottom to do my save, my new auto email, and set them up with either the concierge service, the auto direct, or the auto direct email. Okay, the auto direct is just sending things out ASAP. And when I set it up this way, it's going to send out new properties as they come on the market to my client automatically, right? Okay. Now, the other thing about this is, let's say, for example, there's a couple different options along with this. Let's say I'm going to go in here and set up a search, and I'm going to save it as a new auto email, and I'm going to create a new contact, and I'm going to call that contact, oh, let's see, let's call him Fred Buyer, okay, and put in an email address for him here, homebuyer@gmail.com. And I'm going to take this off because I don't want to actually trigger the actual listing broker on any properties. And I'm going to go ahead and save this and put him in there, put in my new information, new listings, and go ahead and set this up. Now, we teach this more in the other class, the matrix class, but advanced class. But I'm going to uncheck this and set this up as an ASAP. I have then set this up. It's been sent out to the client. The client's going to get these emails or these listings, and any new listings that come out and meet his criteria. Now, the other thing is the other option. There's two other options here. I'm going to go and do the same search, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and search the properties. If I removed selected listings from here, even though I've got the criteria set up, let's say of these 15 listings, there are some of them that I just don't want to send out, okay? So I'm going to go down here after I select these, and I'm going to refine these and discard them, okay? Now I can go ahead and set up and select all and do my save new auto email for that person. But the thing is that those listings, even though they're on the market, even though they match the criteria, that broker's never going to see those listings, or that client's never going to see those listings. It's just not going to show up. So you can eliminate certain properties from an auto email in that sense. The other thing, let me go back here again to my search, single family quick search, residential Gig Harbor, pull up these properties again. Now, option 2, which is kind of fun, let's say that you could do this either after you've shown properties to a client, or maybe you can do this in the beginning. You've sat down with them and they just absolutely said, hey, you know what? I really like, oh, let's say this property, and let's say they like this property and this one. Okay, let's just pick some properties. This time, instead of discarding those, we're going to go down to refine, and we're going to narrow, okay? And we're going to go through the same process and select it and set it up as a new auto email, making sure that we set it up as the ASAP, not the concierge. But now what's going to happen, because you've done it this way, no new properties are going to be sent out automatically unless it's one of these properties. So in other words, once you send these out, if there's a price change or any kind of a status change that indicates something's happening to these properties, your client's going to then get notified. And so that's a great way for your client to keep an eye on properties that they may have seen or found or like, and they just want to go and set up their own, they just want to keep their eye on that property, so to speak. And it's kind of a cool thing to really set your client up with. So